My high C38, Leo Coys and KTK. Lucas on the flight, causing turbulence, causing waves on our way to the confluence. New voice for the fans, from the pitch to the stands. My high locals than the South Bank lads. Leo Coys and a homie crashed. Hold up, what's this? A raft on the water to the confluence. Yeah. It's chance, I'm bound up, rounds, I love the head to the wars. If it's this, you're off the C38. This time is now. Locals on the jump to hold it down. Like the stream and do 5 stars. The mile high Hotspur and crash the car.
Yes, you filthy animals. Welcome back to the Confluence. My name is Leo Coys, the Mile High Hotspur, and I'm joined by my homie, the driver of the Dandy Shuttle, a certified rapid sicko, and the co-host of this here podcast, Crash. My homie, talk to us.
Hey man, it's good to see you again. It's been for me a crazy long epic week. I was down in Las Vegas for work. I had an event down there at MGM Grand and at Allegiant Stadium, and put 50 miles on my feet over the past 4 or 5 days. Got in this morning after pulling a 24-hour shift, and so I am a little sluggish, a little tired. I was able to catch a couple hours of Z's on the flight. And then when I got back right before I had to go to training with my team and girls today. But I am excited to be with you. I'm excited to talk about PIDs. I am awake and ready to rock. But it's definitely been, I'm excited for my bed once we are wrapped. Yeah, it's nice that it's a quiet, it was supposed to be a quiet week. Without the PIDs playing, but it's absolutely not been a quiet week. The past couple of days when it comes to PIDs news has been actually pretty amazing.
Well, they definitely have been getting into some work, my homies. We will dive into all that and more in this episode 9, Crash. We've done we're on a full baseball game's worth of episodes with this one, my homie. So with that, I'm going to start this episode like I do all the other ones and just bigging up the C38, everybody involved there at the tailgating, at the stadium that puts on the environment in the South Bank, the Mile High locals for providing the environment that they do as well, the compos, and just everybody that tunes in to the Confluence, everybody that does Rapids content, big up to you. Again, you can find us at the Confluence Pod on Instagram. Go over to Instagram and make sure you're following us there. Make sure you're doing the ratings, 5 stars, all that good jazz on the podcast platforms. Crash, we are going to get this episode started by talking about that 4-1 whooping. Actually, you know what I'm going to say? That 4-1 ass whooping that we put on Sporting KC over the weekend, my homie. We talked a bit about this game on our last episode, Crash, how this game was, an early edition of a make or break type of game, in the sense that, we lost that first road game to NYCFC, and if we were going to pick it back up, my homie, it had to be against them down I-70. And what a display. Before I break the game down, homie, Crash, what do you make of a 4-1 whooping to one of our rivals, my homie?
Yeah, it was fun, and we were kind of talking about it a little earlier, and for me, the way that I look at it is it's fun to be a Rapids fan again. The moments that we've had in the past couple years of inconsistencies, which we haven't quite, I say, overcome, but we're playing a style of football that's exciting to watch. We're aggressive, we're front-footed, we're trying things. We have an identity that seems to be pretty solid, and all of that was evident in against SKC. And the number one piece of that was we were an attacking team. We were taking it, creating chances, putting the ball in the back of the net. We were dangerous. And if you got to check, there was a media posting of Matt Wells in the locker room afterwards that kind of was going through, I think, Instagram and some different places. It's inspiring, and I think that's the key of it is for the longest time we played teams like SKC where we should have won and we didn't. And we kind of touched on it last episode where this is, to me, it was a must win game just to prove that we're not the team that we used to be. And so it was good to see us come out. It was good to see us, get on the score sheet early. It was good to see us respond when we did concede a goal. And immediately. So the mentality of this team, the identity of this team is definitely top notch, and it just makes me excited to see more of the games coming up.
Well, I mean, like we said, bro, a perfect response. It does suck we gave up the goal. Let's talk a little bit about the game, homie. I'm gonna go ahead and get us going with a bit of a breakdown. The away game to Sporting KC, the first big chance crash was a ball played into Kelvin Harris. Broke free, and I hate to say it, but like we've known Kelvin Harris to do, just shifted off wide. You know what I mean? Missed the mark, didn't even put it on target. I don't mean to laugh, Kelvin. I'm sorry, my homie, but kind of expected that. You know what I mean? Like, just we gave up open chance, and Calvin Harris just whiffs it, homie. Thank God for that one. Um, and it didn't take long for the Rapids to try to implement their game. They're playing some sexy and attractive football, and this was made evident by the 12th minute goal from Paxton Aronson. But what I want to point out from this goal crash is the inclusion of Wayne Frederick, who gets the ball kind of off towards the wing, has to dribble past one of the Sporting KC defenders, like does his part to do that. Then plays off to Rafa, who, what the hell are you thinking with that back heel to who? Darren Yappy, man, catches it in stride, my homie. What a perfect pass to Darren Yappy, who shows massive composure for me in that moment. Holds the ball up just a bit, lets his players run in. Who does he find? He lays it off to Paxton Aronson, who has not an easy shot, Crash. You know what I mean? A left-footed, quick one-touch pass to dink over the keeper for his first goal. And we were up 1-0, my homie. What a way to start the game. The Rapids had the momentum, homie. We get another close chance, and this is when Darren Yappy again has a nice little run, shoots the ball, gets a rebound, but just whiffs the second attempt at the ball there, literally at point blank, and he fluffed it there, and we could have been 2-0 up, and that would have been crucial, my homie. It took up until almost halftime. I want to say like the 44th minute. The Rapids obviously lost some focus there on a corner kick late, and I'm sorry, there right before Calvin Harris lays off to his teammate. I'm sorry, I don't remember the guy's name, but does a good job there to finish it. I want to big up Calvin Harris for that pass, man. Threaded the ball perfectly to his teammate there, and his teammate still had a lot to do there to pull them up back to 1-1. But almost immediately, the Rapids did not let that. I think Matt Wells said, "What was it, like an uppercut or a sucker punch?" We didn't let that affect us, my homie. We got a late corner kick in that first half, and Dante Sealy whips in a great cross. It ricochets off of I think the crossbar to Wayne Frederick, who puts us up 1-2, leading into halftime. Massive for your confidence, Crash, when you pull that goal back up after that punchback, from Sporting KC, especially
Absolutely.
that late and that quick. You know what I mean? That was big. That was big for the Rapids going into halftime, and it was evident too with the momentum in the third half. In the second half, our third goal, Navarro finds Paxton out wide. who also does good to find the other Miguel Navarro, who does the overlap. Is it the overlap or the inlap where he goes on the inside? However it is, Paxton finds him. His first instinct, Crash, was to just whip that ball across the 6-yard box. See who's going to be there, and who was it? Rafa Navarro, my homie, who did very good to find or to start that playoff to give us that 3-1 lead. And I'm going to fast forward. Josh Atencio is now on the pitch for this fourth goal. He wins the ball back for us in the midfield, and it falls perfectly to, I believe it was Dante Sealy, who just kind of dinks it over everybody, and it happens to find who? Our poacher, Rafa Navarro, who has freaking Harry Kane-style eyes on the back of his head, my homies. It doesn't even look back, knows his player's going to be there, no look passes the ball almost to the penalty spot. And Paxton Aronson just thunderblast that joint to the back of the net. And the Burgundy boys got that 4-1, my homie. Crash. I'm freaking pumped just talking about it, bro. The whole display throughout the game. I mean, I know there was lapses where Sporting KC had their momentum, but it was one-way traffic, in my opinion, my homie. And that's because of the 4-1 win for the Rapids. My homie, take the floor, Crash.
Yeah, no, it was an exciting game to watch. I think you look at the score sheet and we're excited that it's 4-1 because I mean it's the Rapids and we don't usually see score lines of that, caliber. So that's exciting to see. But if you watch the game and you watch the chances, I mean it could have easily been 7-1. and that's not a joke. I mean, you mentioned Yappy, whiffing that shot he had on target that, even with missing the ball, almost went in. It was cleared off the line with some great defending there by SKC. But if he would have connected, that thing would have been blasted through the back of the net and would have been saved for anything. And so that would have put us up, an extra goal. Dante Sealy, there was a lot of really positive play from Dante this game, and we can kind of touch on that a little bit later. But he had plenty of opportunities, and you could even see the team and Hoffa being selfless, trying to feed him the ball to get him shots on target. Because I think he's wanting to break his seal officially with the Rapids and get off to a good foot. And so you could see Hoffa there, giving him the ball every chance he could after he got his goal, and so it was just good to see. So there's so many opportunities we could have scored more goals. So I think the scoreline really doesn't even represent where it really happened, despite it even being 4-1. The other big thing that we didn't touch on that I thought it's worth noting is the refereeing on this. There were yellow cards galore. I mean, I think our entire back line of defenders was on a yellow at some point. The ref was really calling every little foul, every little thing on the field. And I do think despite that, the Rapids kept their dominant mentality, their really physical, front-footed mentality, and they didn't let that deter them from their identity, even though the ref was really kind of dictating the game. I mean, I think there was 20 some odd stoppages in the first 20 minutes. I think it seemed like they just kept stopping. And I was like, just let the guys play at this point. So it was interesting to see kind of even without a rhythm that they could still, find that flow, which is really good. But yeah, end of the day, even the subs that came on, provided a lot of amazing opportunities. We got to see we never got to see a Hoffa to Hoffa connection when we had Hoffa Santos at left back, but this time we got a Navajo connection, which was really good. So it was good to see him, get a goal contribution and get some fruit for his efforts, and good to see him jumping in the starting lineup to get some solid minutes and prove that he is a capable player. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, we got to see some solid play. The new starters, like you mentioned, Wayne Frederick as well. a person we've always been kind of hard on, I will say. He's come into games in past years and gotten quick yellows or even red cards, and he's kind of gotten wild into challenges, and it seems this season he's really matured, and despite some of the challenges and concerns we had, when Wells was talking about him, you can start seeing maybe what Wells is seeing is right. So it's good to see him coming into form. So yeah, it's just all kinds of really positive play all around this team, from players to team to coaches to everything. It was a overall solid victory to watch.
Yeah, my homie, and a little bit more to just kind of touch on that with Wayne Frederick. I mean, really stating his case to continue playing in that starting lineup, my homie. We've talked about, I mean, I know myself personally, I look at that area of the pitch and I think it brings tons of it could bring tons of battles, you know what I mean? Midfield battles. We have depth there. We have certain players that, on their day can be better than the other one. And, I've been pretty big on wanting to see Josh Atencio show more. But my homie, if Wayne Frederick is gonna be putting in the minerals like that, then by all means, man, may it last much longer. And it'll only do better for this club, for the squad and the team, that internal battle. You know what I mean? All over the pitch, not just in the midfield. And something we will touch on later on, I guess, is with uh, with the new players coming in to just add more depth to our squad. So, man, we're doing bits, my homies. But to stick with the game, Crash, which of the four goals uh, did you enjoy the most? Were you just like, oh my God, that was sexy? Or, just what stuck out the most, apart from the goals as well, my homie?
Yeah, I think, well, one, Paxton gets a brace. He hasn't been able to get a goal since he started with the team last season. And I mean, I guess technically he kind of got a goal last season with that corner, or that I think it was a corner kick that went off of another player. I don't think they ended up giving it to him, so this was his first official goal, I guess you could say.
For sure.
But yeah, it was good to see him get off the mark, and then with a brace, I think that's just solid for his mentality. And it was the goals that we would expect him to see, those running straight, into the box, solid midfield, crash in the box kind of goals, which is great. But I think that first one has to be good. I know you kind of touched through it, but that back heel pass to Yappy and that just perfectly timed cross into Paxton from Yappy to slide it home. It was just beautiful play. I mean, like, Hoffa is just such a dangerous player. Who would have thought a back heel pass to Yappy in mid stride would have actually been successful? But Hoffa's like, I got this. It didn't look like he looked like he was doing exactly what he planned on doing. It wasn't I'm gonna throw a Hail Mary here and hopefully he gets there. He's like, nope, perfect pass back heel straight to his feet, and we score. So that had to be by far one of the best goals that I've seen, with the Rapids score, and with the whole play and build up all season.
Bro, I'm gonna just say this. I've said this on the pod before, and Crash, even backstage. I've talked to you about it. I see tons and tons of similarities with Harry Kane and Rafa Navarro, and one of them being his vision, bro. His vision, his ability to know, to just feel. I mean, the instinct, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. Like, he's got that about him, bro. And just the for to start with the back heel, how who else on the team is going to do that to start with? I don't think anybody else, homie. I think he's got the best vision on the squad. Now, I'll even take us back, I think, to what was it, the to when he got his goal. He has the ball midfield, bro. I invite you guys to take a look at the replay. He scans before he gets it, smashes it crossfield to Paxton. Instinctive play, vision on 100 plus 5, You know what I mean? And then the instinct to crash the freaking back post because it's getting beat into them. Crash, I've said this before, that back post goal, we're gonna see those, bro. We're gonna see those. And why? Because Matt Wells wants his players to whip in that ball to that area. And it's even, Hoffa proved it on his layoff to Paxton for Paxton's goal. Who in their right mind on our squad is gonna attempt that no look freaking back or that pass to Paxton? Are you kidding me, bro? That was dude, Hoffa, honestly, that game for me surprised me, dude. Like I've seen, and like I said, I'll double down. I've seen flurries and I've seen things that remind me of Harry Kane. But that game, dude, I seen tons and tons of things, and it's because Matt Wells is probably getting into his ear, is probably helping him out, crash, or something's going on there with the coaching, homie. But it's not all Matt Wells because those signs were there even last season when I seen Hoffa. You know what I mean? So Hoffa is just he's a freaking baller, my homies. Hoffa is a freaking baller. We're lucky to have a player like Hoffa, my homies. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Oh yeah. Well,
He's been and is.
I was gonna say with Hoffa, I was like he's creating chances that we would have expected Georgie to create last season. Like he's been one of the most creative players on the team, and so I think you're spot on. He's doing things that you wouldn't necessarily think even a 9 is would be attempting. You'd think that's typically your 10 role. So for him to play that role and kind of be able to live in both worlds, it's pretty fascinating to watch.
Crash. I'll even say this, my homies, for the neutral or for I know we have tons of Arsenal fans that may listen. You know what I mean? Check out Bayern Munich. See how Harry Kane plays with Bayern Munich. He's got it's the same instincts, it's the same vision, it's the same killer pass, it's the same killer finish. You know what I mean? Have a look at Bayern Munich's highlights, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm not exaggerating. I see it, my homies. I've watched it tons of years, and I'm seeing it here at home. I like that one, my homie. Dante Silly. What were your thoughts on Dante Sealy's contribution? Not his play, his performance, his rating, or what it looked like on the eye, but his contribution to the team.
Contribution to the team, I think this was the biggest piece of it, right? We can talk about quality or his finishing or, these things here or there and critique it a bit. But what I saw from him was somebody who literally gave everything he had in the tank and more on the field. He didn't get a sub. He played the entire game. And as a winger, that's not an easy situation. And he put it out there the entire time, was running, was crashing the box, was trying to make shots, trying to get the ball out of his feet, trying to do all these things. And in the last 30 minutes of the game was still trying and trying and trying. He never gave up once during that game. And he, I'm sure he slept really well that night because he didn't have anything left. And that's what you want from a player. Like, I think at the end of the day, we know he's got quality. We know the goals. We know those things will come. But what you can't teach and what you can't get is that mentality of like, I'm going to give every possible ounce of energy I have into this game and I'm never giving up. That is not an option for me. And he never did. And that's what I loved about him. So although I might be concerned with, the finishing piece of it or not, taking, launching a ball into the stands when it should have been in the back of the net. What I won't have an issue with is if he's playing like that every day and every game, then I'm liking that player because those goals will come for sure. But it's that mentality that he's never giving up. You're going to have to drag him off the pitch type of mentality. And that's pretty awesome.
And he was you mentioned the fouls and the ref stopping a lot. Sealy was one of these players just getting beat up all game long as well, my homie. So you could tell he definitely put in his shift that game. The reason I wanted to speak on Sealy and his contribution, because on the night, it's stats that kind of go, they don't go noticed, you know what I mean, or marked, if you will, because they have, the hockey assist, the assist to the assist, basically. He got one of those when he fed Hoffman Navarro over, and Navarro then fed Paxton.
Yeah.
That was City who dinked it over and played Navarro. And then on Wayne Frederick's goal, which was some sort of drawn up set piece play now from our set piece coach. It was Sealy's whip into the box that ricocheted there, and that was a dangerous ball. I thought he did very well to get he got some air underneath of that ball, some good whip, and it was obviously dangerous enough, my homie, to give Wayne Frederick the opportunity to. Of course, Wayne had to do a lot there to be reactive and get the goal, but still two contributions, I would say, easily to the game. And then you touched a little bit on Paxton Aronson, homie, but let's go ahead and wax a little bit more, bro. Two goals for Paxton is gonna do tons of good for his confidence going forward. And not only that, just like what it probably means as the team. I seen a stat crash. I think we're tied for second for the most goals dispersed throughout our team. I think we're tied with NYCFC for like 7 or 8, and then it was one team. I don't know. I'm gonna guess Miami, but there was just one team that has more goals spread out throughout the team than we do, and that's key for me, bro. That's a system. You know what I mean? That's a team that's bought in. That's players doing it. Granted, we could be a bit more clinical, but just with that being said, bro, just touch a little bit more on Paxton Aronson, bro. For moving forward, this has to be key, my homie.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think, with those stats, you're looking at, the Rapids being third with with big chances. So we're getting into those opportunities. We're scoring the goals, or we're trying to score those goals. So, those chances, you don't get to be the top three and creating the biggest chances, in the league if we're not doing something right. So I think that's a really good sign there. And I think Paxton is just a good example of that, right? He put in the shift, he put in the work, he ran. I think the other big key of it too is that he actually got shifted off, which I was interested, I was curious on what the substitution was going to be when the sub came on, because I was like, I'm not sure how this is going to work. And then sure enough, Paxton gets shifted over to the left wing and still gets a goal, right? And so I think that's interesting to see him being able to be versatile. And Wells even mentioned that they hadn't even really practiced that. He just he has confidence in Paxton to be able to play where he needs to play. He understands the system and he knows his quality, and so he can just put him on anywhere on the field and he's comfortable. So I just thought it was pretty amazing to see him be able to quickly react and shift to those things, and no matter what was thrown at him, and still really get the man of the match for the team.
Yeah, homie. What do you think of the way Wells is using him? Or I guess not necessarily using him, but allowing him to kind of be expressive, homie, to try and get in those pockets, to try and probably find that space. I mean, I think if he's going to continue to play him, do you feel like it's more like in that 10? Are we playing if we were playing a 4-2-3-1 on that day, he was in the 10 there. He's hitting out wide to either side, bro, and being able to link up play. Testament to the system, my homie.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think too is he's mentioned he has a bit of freedom to kind of do what he needs to, but it's all within Matt Wells' system. But he's not really playing as that traditional 10 all the time either. So it's kind of an interesting kind of dynamic that he has, and kind of how he's working the field and the space that he has, because he's starting to come into his own. And I think he's starting to find the comfort in the system, and you're starting to really see it, because he's really having some solid games.
Yeah, and let's jump over to the left side of the attack and Darren Yappy, my homie. Darren Yappy, of course, got the assist for one goal, fluffed his lines pretty bad, bro. I think it was harder for him to miss it than it was to make it on that one, dude.
Yeah.
But just what are your thoughts on Darren Yappy, bro? I mean, we talk about him every pod, so I mean, it's only right that we kind of just touch on him this game too, bro. He's been improving, and again, this game they didn't come up with the goals, and that's okay. But again, the contribution is there, and
Yeah.
playing a wonderful hold up play to lay off Paxton for his goal there. Just talk to me about what your thoughts about Darren Yappy, homie, and just what he showed this game.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he is, a solid player. He's, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's carrying the most goal contributions amongst any player on the team. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists, if I'm not mistaken. He's almost breaking into the top 20 of the goal and assist within the league. So I mean, he's in the likes in the hunt with a Messi. He's in the Sebastian Berhalter, a Christian Espinoza. He's not far off of any of those players. And then you've even got Paxton just right below him, and I think Hoffa is up there as well. So I mean, it's just exciting, right? It's exciting to see somebody so young as Yappy and a homegrown really step into an opportunity this season and thrive. Um, he's a dangerous player, and it's going to be tough to see him off the pitch. And what does that look like? We'll talk about some of the transfers coming up here soon, but what if he's not playing in that wing position? Is he battling for that center forward position with Hoffa? Do we actually see Hoffa lose minutes for him, or is he just going to be that sub? Because I think the minutes have been helping him quite frequently. So it'll be interesting to see, but it also get nice to know that we have a really solid depth option or starting option. If it's not depth. So those are the kinds of dangerous players you want on your bench or available, because that's what's going to win you games down the stretch. That person who's going to be able to come off, and Yappy's proven it time and time again with Yappy Hour, coming off the bench, scoring the game winner or scoring that tying, goal or whatever it might be in those clutch scenarios. So now he's just doing it for fun during the main course of the game and being a solid player. So it's an exciting time for Yappy fans for sure.
My homie, and I guess before we move on, I guess I would like to see my homie. Was there like a on the day? Um, they did have. I say they Sporting KC that when they were attacking, they were able to do so, my homie. Is that worrying for you? Like the fact that we're this far, not this far, but 5 games into the season, and we're still, I guess, a bit inconsistent there at the back. And of course, with the transfers that we got coming in now, hopefully we'll shore that up. But still, like, is it bothering you? Is that the part of our team that is still the one that needs the more work, the one that isn't really showing its full potential? And was that on the day when we won 4-1? Is the defensive part of the game kind of like the negative part, if you will?
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't say it is negative, but I can definitely say that it's not perfect. But also, you look back at kind of the way that the game unfolded, with all the yellows, Holding came really close in getting a second yellow in the game. So the team was probably playing a bit more conservative than they normally would. You've got Jackson Travis and Miguel Navarro, who are, Jackson being younger but with more minutes, but Miguel's making his breaking back into the team and really getting that first start since he's been with us. So, I think this game, some of those holes make sense just because of familiarity and kind of how the team structure works. But I think Harrington had another amazing game. I think Holding had a okay game, right? And I think that's the key of it is we're seeing Holding have not inconsistent games, but almost like a consistent floor, right? We're not going to necessarily get too far below that. But I also don't think we have a high ceiling with them either. So it's just a consistency on that back line that I would love to see. And we're starting to see Harrington, really be that person who's the dynamic center back where we've got a veteran kind of locking down the cover piece of it.
Yeah. And it sucks to say because I really rate Jackson Travis a lot, but he kind of I think he was kind of caught out of position there for Sporting KC's goal.
Yeah.
And I think you can't really fault him for that either. I mean, he's a what is it? A predominantly left back playing on the right side. And apart from that, Crash, I mean, probably just a lapse in judgment or just a lapse of concentration. He did very good on that right side there, playing a more inverted type role with in the system. And then also one thing that we're seeing a lot too, Crash, is our six is dropping back pretty deep. We have the width there with our center backs on either side of Zach Steffen, and our six is dropping back. What are your thoughts on the system that we're seeing, bro? Just before we move on, it's definitely a shift from what we're used to, my homie. And 4 goals. We got 4 in preseason. We got 4 against Galaxy. We got 4 against Sporting KC. It's a huge change from what we were seeing last season, my homie. Just before we switch off of the game, bro, just talk a bit about the system, bro.
Yeah, I think the system it's finally starting to find comfort, right? The first couple of games, at least the first game with Seattle, we didn't really see it. We started seeing that identity. We started seeing it get picked out of the, Portland and Galaxy. The key of it that I'll look at is I think Galaxy is probably the top team of the 3 wins that we've had this season. But that also happened with, a red card and an injury, right, to some of their 2 best players. And so there's a bit of an asterisk that I still have on the system and kind of the play and however it works. We've seen 2 games against some of the top elite teams in the league, and we haven't really gotten the results. So we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Seattle and New York are going to be 2 hard teams to play no matter what, especially when you play away. But seeing us win those other games makes sense. So we're winning the games we should, losing the games we might think we would. Which, is a much better start than we ever had last year. Last year when we're losing games that we should and winning games that we shouldn't, right? And the majority of those games were still a loss, at the end of the day. So it's coming together. It's a good system, and it's exciting to see where it'll take us.
Full questions, Crash. Are the Rapids legit?
I think if we can get through this international window, we get into Toronto and have another statement win, then yes. Because I think Toronto's going to be that kind of, okay, this team is not a great team, but it's not a bad team either. And so I think, we still have 1 or 2 more games to confirm that they are legit, because it's the consistency that we're still missing. But they aren't not legit, right? Like I would think, instead of doing the double negatives here, but I think we're showing really strong signs that we are going to be challenging team no matter where we play, no matter what's happening, no matter we're home or away or what tournament might be in front of us. It seems to be a team that's going to be a really tough team to play. And so for teams to come into our place and get results, or for us to go get results, traveling, I think it's going to be exciting because we are not the Rapids of old. That's the key of it.
Look, I think just the blatant, it's the identity is starting to show. You know what I mean? We're starting to see that identity. And it's obvious, there's clear standards now on the pitch, and I'm assuming at training. and accountability. Um, Massive tactical clarity now compared to what we've seen in the earlier matches, and I can believe that these players are definitely buying into the system, and I think the players are behind it.
Well, the
Crash,
looking at
question.
well, I was going to say, looking at Matt Wells's post game kind of speech to the team, I think is the other key of it, right? You know, we listened to the media availability, you know, before we kind of launched in the pod, and he was talking about prepping for the team ahead, and they have a plan, and they, you know, kind of how they approach it, and they focus on team identity, and then 3 days before, you know, the match, they really focus in on the team at hand and look at tactics and, you know, how they're going to adjust in those kinds of things. And you could see it in that team talk where he's saying, what did we talk about? We talked about SKC is a team that's going to play hard for 60 minutes and then they peter out. We have to be a team that goes 95. And, you know, that impact, that identity, that visibility of a coach to be able to look at that team and understand that and be prepared for it. And what did they do? They won the game. I mean, they got, you know, they were up 2-1 going into it, but they got those 2 extra goals in that time frame, right? They made the adjustments. They were prepared for it. They had a vision and like you mentioned, tactical clarity of how to play it. You can see every one of those players are bought in. And I think that's the exciting piece.
I agree, homie. And Crash, my add-on to these questions, and the reason I wanted to talk about the 4-1s and just, you know, the way we've been playing is, I'm curious to hear your opinion, bro. We beat LA Galaxy 4-1, but you touched on it. It was against, you know, we had eventually went up by the player. They got the red card and injury too to some of their players, right? Or to one. I don't know I don't remember if it was 1 or 2. So that's always going to skew your result, right? But still, on the day, Crash, that was a very good team performance. Like,
yeah,
you know, you could still be with a man up, but that doesn't guarantee you're going to score goals or you're going to win the game. You still have to go out there and implement your game plan. If anything, it makes it harder because they're able to put 10 men behind the ball and just leave it at that point. You know what I mean? You could park the bus and say, we'll just ride it out for 60, 30, 90 minutes, whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
But then I wanna compare and contrast with this 4-1 against Sporting KC, my homie. Are you of the mind that the Sporting KC was a more dominant performance than that one? Or would you say that
no, I think it was
because of the opponent?
I think it was. I think it was a more dominant performance than Galaxy. Because, you know, Galaxy, you know, that game and kind of how we got those goals, you know, they came after the red card. You know, granted, I think we were 1-1 for a lot of the time, and you know, or like for the first half, where I think we were 1, and they got one back in the second, and then we scored the last 3. You know, after the red card kind of took place. But LA had some momentum, so it's, you know, on the day, I think, you know, it was a good performance and a good win. But you could see us still struggling a little bit against a Galaxy team that's not an easy out by any means. They've got really good, solid players. So for us to be able to do that in the way we did, I thought was great. But the SKC side of it, it was an all-around performance. Like, we dominated the ball. There wasn't many moments of the game where you go, oh, SKC really has a chance to come back. Even when they got the goal, it was off of a weird transition, and maybe like a missed pass, and they just beat us in that transition piece. And what did we do? Immediately responded with a goal. Like, it was just one of those things, like, we almost could just score at will at that point. And so I think that was the key of it, is that was the dominant side of it, because I don't think we ever truly allowed SKC to really be a contender in the match, which is what we want to do against teams that are not good in this league.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I mean, Yeah, you could add the allure of you're going up against, the Galaxy, and it was a good game at home. But to do that on the road, you know what I mean? And then um just given this, I mean, bro, I could take you back to last season, or maybe was it 2 seasons ago? We held four there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
4-1 or four
Yeah.
zero or 4-1. I don't remember, but
I think it was 4-0. I think he lost 4-0.
yeah, so to turn around and to do them by, 4-1, I think it was the most dominant performance to date by the Pitties. My homie, moving on to the next part of this podcast, let's talk about transfer deadline day. My homie, the Rapids made some moves. Oh, just when they teased us a couple of days ago on the Instagram, saying something was going to happen. Keep your eyes peeled. And there had been at that point, the rumors of, was it Loic Williams that was going to sign,
Yep.
and they made it official. My homie Crash, you kind of have brought this up a few times on the pod, and you've kind of nailed it. You know what I mean, with the whole transfer being he's going to come in the summer to add some depth. My homie, take over. Go ahead and just run us through the transfers and break it down, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, we talked about Loic a bit, in the past couple episodes. It's been, running around the rumor mill, and we did have some of the Granada supporter, on Twitter really break this or talk about this more when seemed like it was going into fruition, interesting. If you listen to the media availability from Matt Wells today, he did talk about how this was a player he wanted. He scouted him, early on when he became coach, and was all about him. So I think that's the interesting piece of it to me, is that Wells has a vision for his players, and he really seems to be, finding the players that he wants in that mold, and not having the center back, having having center backs, and depth is not a problem with those center backs. I thought was interesting, but I think the really interesting piece of it, though, is that he's a left-footed center back, and so I think that was something that Matt was really trying to find, and was patient and found it, and for them to be bringing him in the summer, I think is the interesting piece of it. So they liked him so much that they were willing to wait to get him and for the second half of the season. So. Definitely he's a long-term piece, not a short-term fix by all means. The biggest key factor of this also goes to show he's going to be from the reports I'm seeing, a TAM player. So he's going to be a player that we're going to need to be playing. He's not going to be a bench player. Just like Rob, Rob can be benched if needed, but you don't want to have signings like of that level, sitting on your bench. So the question really is who's going to take the back seat when he comes in July? Is it Harrington, or is Harrington even here? So it'd be interesting to see how that turns out at the end of the day. But I think at all, I know we've been concerned and kind of how it goes, but I think with the rumor mill happening and kind of where we're at, and Wells being so high on him, I'm going to be excited to see him come in July and see what he can contribute.
Yeah. I don't know much about him, homie, and the fact that, we're letting him stay there and then I guess finish out the European season, right, would then end. And we get him. I'm all for that, my homie. And like you said, that's probably, you're right, how Matt Wells probably had players like him already scouted, when he was thinking about going out on a coaching, a managerial role himself. You'd probably think he'd probably had a group of players he wouldn't mind, trying to start with. And he was probably one of them.
Yeah.
Crash, more signings, my homie. We have, was it the first one was Loic was signed, and then they came back and doubled down and gave us a Cozy Thompson from Toronto.
Yeah.
Crash, what do you know about the deal, my homie? What do you know about Kosi Thompson? First I was down for us, homie.
Yeah, for sure. So Kosi, the official word was he was signed on 200K in GAM, and looks like he's gonna, be able to receive up to 200K for incentives. So, right around that 400K with the GAM. Has a good amount of appearances in MLS, and I think that's a good sign. But he's a young center or a young player who is also very, very versatile. He's able to play at fullback. He's able to play midfield. He's able to play at center back. And so again, I think Matt Wells, he had talked about it this in today's media availability, how that is going to be really important down the stretch. And I think, you see Reggie out. It doesn't look like he's going to be an extremely long-term play or injury for him, but still he's been out for a couple of weeks. It's going to take him still another couple of weeks at minimum to get back into the squad and get match fit and those kinds of things. So it looks like they want to make sure they have a player that they can slot in or maybe even can fight for minutes in some of these positions. Despite, Matt saying he's really locked into a force or fullback rotation or group there. So it'll be interesting to see how he breaks into the team, what he adds. It's not a real big splashy move by any means, but it's just a good solid depth piece, which I think is interesting. I think one of the things I didn't mention, as they've been posting these welcome to colorful Colorado on the Colorado Rapids social channels, kind of hinting and prepping the players for the incoming transfers, was the biggest rumor of them all. The welcome to Colorado post coincided perfectly with the fact that Mo Salah was leaving Liverpool. And if you're looking across the Rapids Twitter and the jokes that were rolling at Mo Salah was coming to the Rapids, one, if you had any hopes that was ever going to happen, you need to maybe go see a doctor, because that is definitely not going to happen. Mo Salah would never be coming to the Rapids by any means. And the other side of it too is I never would expect him to be a signing that Wells would want to adopt into his system. I think, would he be a good player? Would he get butts and seats? Would be a good franchise kind of build the brand and the visibility? Yeah, I definitely think he would. Would he add anything to Wells' system? I don't think he necessarily would. I don't, it's not the style of play and kind of the expectation there is just not the same. And I don't think Wells would really want that and what he's looking at. So anyway, I just thought that was comical. It was fun. It was a fun little meme kind of rolling around the internet because it all kind of coincided around the same time and everybody was slightly getting their hopes up. But then seeing Loic, getting announced, which if you looked at it, you saw Tom Bogert's tweets. Obviously, you knew it was coming. So it was pretty comical.
Yeah, dude. I told the homie that if Mo Salah comes, or I have a bigger chance of getting an Arsenal tattoo before Mo Salah comes to the Rapids, my homie.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's 100% correct. Yeah, it was interesting. And so today, so we'll jump into today. So for those who don't know as well, today is the last day of the this early transfer window for the MLS. I know most of the windows are closed across the board for teams around the world, but it doesn't mean that we still can't import players. So that's why you're seeing some of these signings. But you're seeing, Kasi and coming from an MLS team. You're seeing Loic coming from Granada after the season. But the newest information is that we're going to be acquiring a Seattle Sounders winger of Georgie Manungu, which is actually, we had been hinted that the team was looking for a winger to add to the winger core. And we've been asking for a good quality winger on this team for forever, it seems like. So Todd Bogert did tweet this out today. It has been confirmed from our Burgundy Wave reporters and Braden Norris, if I'm not mistaken, have all confirmed that rumor as well. So it looks like it's a deal that's getting confirmed right now. And I would imagine he's going to be in a Black Rapids kit here very, very shortly. But according to Tom, it's a $2 million in-game deal, which I think is really close to what we got for Dante, or what we paid for Dante Seeley. Georgie's a 23-year-old, and he's kind of been touted as one of the best dribblers in MLS. So it just really goes to show he's that direct attacking winger that Matt Wells really wants in his system. So, we're going to add to the depths of that wing. He's going to have pace. He's going to be able to go at players and really be able to break lines. So, interesting to see. The key of it now is what happens to Yappy? What happens? Who's fighting for those positions? Does Alexis Manyoma really fall to the bench and never get any minutes? I've actually been a little, as much as I did like Alexis Manyoma, he's been a little underwhelming for me. So I almost feel like maybe he's not really the type of player that Matt what's in the system, and maybe that he's just a holdover from the previous coaches and kind of the expectation there, and we might see him go part ways in the loan once his loan spell ends. But it's interesting to see how we kind of go about this. We've got all the players that they talked about. We've got some depth in the defensive side, and we've got some attacking with Manungu. Is this team a fully baked team? Do we have all the players that we've been missing in the attack to be dangerous? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, we've been dying out for a winger. This one that you just saying, bro, adds pace, isolation ability, breaking lines off the dribble. And like you said, one of the best 1v1 dribblers in the MLS. For me, I think out of the three, that obviously is the bigger needle mover. And it comes with the heftier price tag. Crash, you would know better than I. Do we have many more players in our recent past worth more than 2 million that we've splashed out besides Paxton?
Dante Seeley is the only one that comes to mind. So if you're looking at that as the mold, right? Dante is definitely a dangerous player. I know we just spent, time talking about him in an earlier segment, and he should be an every game starter in reality, right? And so it really does look like, Manungu is going to be an every game starter. And the benefit of that is he's been playing for Seattle, so he's going to be match fit and ready to rock. When he gets here, the only thing that he's going to take time for him is to learn the system and learn what Wells is expecting. So I'm excited for that. I am excited to see what he gets. I'd be curious, with the time how quickly can he be with the club? Is he with the club by it's just a quick flight from Seattle down here. So is he here tomorrow? And is he suiting up with the club for next week's training? Maybe. If that's the case, there's a good chance he might even start next Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason I was saying that about the price tag is because we've obviously been generating and accumulating and holding on to some of that GAM. And I'm glad that they've decided to do something with some of it. You know what I mean? I'm not too versed in with the GAM and everything like that, but I'm glad that we're not gonna just let it sit there and not use it, because as you've told me, you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. So spend it while you can, man. Spend it while you can. Crash, just anything that you wanted to add about the transfers? What would you give the overall transfer window from the Rapids, considering the outgoings? Let's break that down real quick, my homie. Help me out here. We had Cole Bassett leave, Oliver Larraz leave. Sam Vines leave.
Vines, yep. Rafa Santos, Calvin Harris.
Calvin Harris, a big clear.
We lost
Max
Andreas
gone.
Maxu. Yep. Yeah, so we lost a good fair amount of players, right? And the players that we brought in, I think Miguel Navarro is, for Sam Vines, we saw, he's here on loan, and it's such a interesting loan deal, right? We loaned him out and then sold him, and now we're loaning him back from the same club and maybe buying him back. But he's proven to be a solid player, right? He stepped in that starting position with SKC and didn't look out of place. He was dangerous. He got an assist, right? He's playing well. So that's exciting, that we're adding a player that can immediately affect the game. We're looking at Dante Seeley, right? One of our biggest signings in the mix. He's, definitely making, opportunities. He's creating chances. He's still getting assists, mostly from corners, but he's not making it easy for the defense, which is what we want from a winger, right? He's got a really good, free kick attempt. He's got, just a good leg on him, and he's not afraid to go after players in 1v1. So I'm excited there. I think that's a great signing, and we'll just see how his, finishing boots kind of come into polish. But and then Lucas Harrington at center back, man, there's no way he's going to be, here for long. And so I think that's a huge, huge signing for this window. I mean, he's going to get flipped just like we did Bombi, and I would expect to see him gone in the summer window. I don't think he's long for the world of the Rapids, but maybe not. Maybe we can keep him for a season, then that would be exciting, right? So, and then with all these new signings, they add in depth and they add in quality. One we're not getting until the summer, but the other two are immediate players that are going to step into the team. It's not a big splashy transfer window, but it's definitely a good solid window. I think it's a window that helps this team be better, not from a butts in the seats, flashy name kind of situation, but I think it's a good window when it comes to we're getting the right players that we need to compete. We'll just need to see kind of how they kind of really come into form with the team.
Yeah. Yeah. No, look, the Rapids, I mean, from the sample size displays we've had from some of these players, I mean, fuck, they've nailed it so far, my homie.
Yeah.
I can't say that they haven't. Crash, to wrap up the show, my homie, anything that maybe we didn't discuss that you wanted to, anything else that we didn't touch?
No, I think, for me, we're kind of at the, we got an off week. We've got the international break this weekend. Denver Summit gets their first home game on Saturday, which is exciting to see. So although we're not going to see the Rapids play, we're going to see the Summit at Mile High, which is really cool. I'm excited to take my daughter and family and some of the girls I coach are going to be there as well. And so it's just exciting to see that come to Denver. They got their first win yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So that's that's fun to have more soccer in the city. Yeah, it's nice to have a little break. I'm a bit exhausted with work and life and things at the current moment. And although I'm going to be missing having a Pids game this weekend, I'm excited that it's going to be a little more calm and collected for the Rapids this week. But that being said, we're full tilt ahead, man. This is going to be, the questions are going to now be, can we keep doing these performances week in and week out? Are we going to be consistent? And I think Toronto's going to be the big key. So I'm excited. We'll be back next week to really dive into that game and all that is entailed with that. But now's the time for us to really, stake our claim as a solid team in the MLS. And I think under Wells and the mentality and the way that the current form of this team, I think we have a real chance of being in that conversation.
Yeah. Well, we just need to keep our heads down. We need to go to Toronto. I know we'll next week we'll talk about that, but we just need to go to Toronto, get a result there, my homie, and come back. And I mean, I think we even said, if we could come back with what was it, 4 points or something like that? Or I don't know what we talked about. If we could come back off that road trip with 4 points, that would be massive. And we picked up 3 so far. So we just need, not that we need, but I mean, if I'm going to stick to my guns, I'll take a draw. You know what I mean? If I'm going to stick to my guns, I'll take a draw. But we'll talk about that in the next episode. However, I do want to say I reached out to Nina from the C38, and I just offered, the space to kind of spread some messages or anything that they got going on. She wanted to say that they're collecting donations to sponsor a Rat Tack Cup futsal tournament in the Marshall Islands. They are the last country to not have a national soccer team, and the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation is working to grow the game so they can one day have a team to compete internationally and in World Cup qualifying. If anybody is interested in any of that, you could do or will be interested in doing a donation. You could do so at a PayPal to Hope Maxwell, and that's at hmaxwell@gmail.com. And that, once again, was just for the C38. Trying to help out the world to get football across the world. What the heck, you guys? Come on, let's help that out. You know what I mean? Football across the world, my homies. So big up to the C38 for trying to help do that. And if anything else, I mean, just watch this space, my homies. Make sure you're liking. If you're over on YouTube, watching or listening to this on playback, big yourself up, drop a comment, a like. If you're on the podcast platforms, well, do us a favor, you filthy animals. Give us 5 stars, like this stream, share to all of the other rapid sickos that you know, and reach out. Come and chat with us. What are you waiting for? This is literally an open-end conversation. If you guys want to come and kick it, reach out. My homie Crash don't bite. I sure as hell don't, Crash.
No.
But nah. Big up to everybody. We appreciate you guys spending time with us. And as always, my homies, up the bids.
Yeah. My heart, C38, Lil Coys and KTK. Locals on the fly, causing turbulence. Got some waves on our way to the confluence. New voice for the fans, from the pitch to the stands. My heart, locals in the South Bank lads. Leo Coys and the whole knee crash. Hold up, what's this? A raft on the water to the confluence. Yeah, it's trance. I'm blind to rhymes and laughter. Head to the waters if it's piss you're after. C38, the time is now. Locals on the drums to hold it down. Like the stream and 2 5 stars. The mile high hot spur and crash the car. Shit.